Alright, we need to talk again here, guys. This video, as you can see in the title, is obviously about how Alice in Chains is metal. I mentioned in my previous video, the top metal on metal covers, where Opeth covered Alice in Chains, that it's obvious that Alice in Chains is a metal band, right? It's obvious to me. But it seems like to a lot of other people that this isn't so obvious. And really, I'm just trying to understand, why do people think that Alice in Chains isn't a metal band? I mean, are you really going to tell me that this... and this isn't metal? Like, come on, guys. To me, the grunge movement is a lot like the visual kei movement in Japan. And think on that for a little bit, and I will make that a whole lot clearer as this video goes on here. And then I guess the next question is, well, Varvis, why do you care? Why are you even making this video? Well, you tell me. You clicked on the video. You tell me why you're watching this here and why we care about it. Now, I will admit that, of course, Alice in Chains has some songs that aren't metal. Olive Jar of Flies is a metal, essentially. Like they're more acoustic stuff. Like, there is songs of Alice in Chains that isn't metal, but for the most part, they are metal. Facelift is a metal album. Dirt is a metal album. Their later albums are metal albums. And people just seem to really get hung up on the whole grunge thing, and grunge... being part of the grunge movement is why they're considered not metal. But, if you really think about it, grunge is more of an aesthetic movement rather than a specific movement of music. You can sort of phrase it as a genre, but really, what does this genre entail? It sort of spans over a couple different genres, right? If we look at the big five grunge bands, right? Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, and Pearl Jam. These five bands sort of encompass a whole wide range of genres. You have Pearl Jam on the one side, the most non-metal, then you more have like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden on the other side. And in the middle, right, there's sort of more of a spectrum. Do they cross over to the metal boundaries? Do they not? And right, this brings to a bigger question, exactly what is metal? If Alice in Chains is metal, then why do we consider, Motley Crue or Def Leppard or even like some of the early Black Sabbath stuff? Like, why is this metal as compared to Alice in Chains and stuff? Like, again, are you going to tell me that Them Bones, a song played in drop C sharp with chromatic palm muted chugging, isn't metal? Like, come on, you guys. Like, metal to me is all about the riffs, and Alice in Chains certainly has riffs. Enough riffs to be considered metal, easily, in my opinion. Alright, like, someone tell me, like, these aren't metal riffs. Like, Them Bones, man, like, drop C sharp, chromatic palm muted chugging, like, come on. Or something like that. I think I forgot one part. But, like, you get my drift here, right? Or even We Die Young. Like, tell me that's not a metal track. Like, tell me that's not a metal riff. Or however that goes. I'm just going off by memory here. Or like, we go back up to Half Step Down, Tooting. Like, tell me, like, that Man in the Box is a metal track, right? I just realized you can hear so much spring noise in my guitar here. But like, like, tell me, like, Junkhead, like, bro. Like, that's a metal riff. Like, come on, bro. Like, it really just... Come on, guys. Like, they're metal. They're metal. But yeah, like, despite my admittedly terrible guitar playing, like, someone tell me that these aren't metal riffs and metal songs. Yes, like, again, some of them aren't metal songs. Down in a Hole for sure. But, like, Damn That River, We Die Young, Grind, again, What the Hell Have I, Them Bones, Junkhead, Dirt even, like, these are metal songs. And so this brings me into the next thing of grunge being like an aesthetic. and relating it to visual K. If you're not familiar, the visual K movement is this sort of hair metal on steroids, I guess you could kind of call it in Japan if you're to really simplify it and dumb it down. But, you know, like crazy spiky hair, essentially like punk aesthetics combined with hair metal to produce this something that's crazy. You have bands like S.D.N.Y, Gazette, Versailles. You know, there's a lot of bands and they cover a whole wide range of genres. Even Deer in Grey was a little bit of a visual K back in the day. And right, so you have S.D.N.Y, who is more like speed metal, but they also have more like rock and these epic ballads. And then you have Versailles, which is like pure symphonic power metal. Then you have Deer in Grey, which is like its own thing. So the visual K movement sort of spans a whole wide range of genres. And this is why I compare it to grunge as well. Right, if you think about it, Nirvana sort of is more on the more punky side. Pearl Jam, a little bit more on the more bluesy, folky side, I guess you could say. Then Alice in Chains and Soundgarden definitely fall on the more metal side. I really don't understand why people don't think like a song like Again or What the Hell Have I? Like, these are metal songs. If you consider, again, not to bring this up, but if you consider a lot of the early 80s stuff metal, then Alice in Chains is certainly metal. Why is this such a controversial take to say that Alice in Chains is metal? Is it because, like, it was played on the radio? You know, what's going on here? And really, I think this brings back to my previous little sit-down chat one-on-one video that we had here, that to a lot of normies, I guess you could say, like, just the thought or even, like, the idea of metal is pretty repulsive to them. Thus, if you consider Alice in Chains to not be a metal band, there's sort of that attached societal stigma that doesn't get applied to them, if that makes any sense. You know, right, if we're going to consider Skid Row a metal band, then Alice in Chains needs to be a metal band. Like, what was they toured with Megadeth? Like, bro, like, Alice in Chains is a metal band. And I really would like to hear a very cogent and coherent argument down in the comments as to why they would not be considered a metal band. Yes, Jar of Flies isn't a metal album. Yes, Down in a Hole really isn't a metal song. It's more of like a blues rock song. But, you know, Black Sabbath made changes, right? Like, that's not a metal song and they're still considered metal. You know, Blind Guardian has the Bard song. That's not metal. They're still considered metal. There are a lot of bands that don't necessarily have all their tracks being metal songs that continue to be metal music. And I mean, just because you consider Man in the Box to be a catchy, you know, radio hit, that doesn't mean it's not metal. Man in the Box is a metal song. Or I guess you could go like hard rock, but hard rock and metal, you know, that boundary is really very fluid, and it really depends on who you ask, right? Is Guns N' Roses metal? You know? Maybe if you consider them metal, then Alice in Chains certainly is a metal. But if you don't consider Guns N' Roses metal, maybe they're not. I don't know. You know, it's just one of these questions that really makes a person think as to what our sort of definition and societal understanding of metal is, and what is our societal understanding of metal. And that's why I sort of related to visual K earlier, right? Grunge is certainly more of an aesthetic, really, at this point. Perhaps in the early 90s, you could definitely pin a lot of this sound to these specific bands coming out of Seattle. But now the sort of grunge sound has been extrapolated and put into other genres, right? That's why we have post-grunge, right? It's the grunge sound, I guess, applied to more radio-friendly rock. But to me, a lot of the post-grunge sound really is just grunge, but you just give it a different label, I guess. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my video here. I'm just here to argue that Alice in Chains certainly is metal. Like, if you're playing in drop C sharp with palm mutes, chugs, chromatics, like, this is metal. Like, these are metal songs, right? So please, someone tell me that I'm wrong. I would love to hear your arguments down below. And if you have any other comments that you want me to sort of sit and talk with you guys about, you know, let me down below. You know, I'm trying out these new sort of more casual videos here, right? You have all my deep dives, which is very heavily scripted, my sort of other list videos, maybe my sort of other topic videos. But yeah, so let me know down below. Alice in Chains definitely is a metal band. I would also consider Soundgarden to be one. Stone Temple Pilots is where I draw the line. They're not metal, definitely more hard rock. But again, who really cares? Well, I do and you do if you clicked on this video, so bye.